Good morning, everybody. My name is Stephen Shrybman. I'm a partner at the law firm Sacco Blatt Mitchell, as Ms. Picard just indicated. I've prepared a report describing the diligent efforts that Canadian trade officials have been making over the last several months to complete a framework of internal trade agreements. The major element of which is an agreement called the Agreement on Internal Trade. And as Ms. Picard indicated, there are now a number of regional agreements that are authorized by that Agreement on Internal Trade, or the AIT, concerning labor mobility and enforcement, and we know that an agreement concerning energy is also coming down the pipe. Now, most Canadians will probably not have heard of this agenda, and if they were to learn of it, would wonder what internal barriers these agreements are intended to resolve, because as we know, we live in a free country, and Canadians are free to live, work, and invest anywhere in the nation they choose. And in reality, there aren't significant barriers to trade, labor mobility, or investment that we have been able to discover. And in fact, were provinces to legislate in a way that did interfere with interprovincial trade, investment, and labor mobility, those measures would be struck down as unconstitutional, because the power to address matters of interprovincial trade are reserved to the federal government under our Constitution. And indeed, there are cases which have been brought to strike down provincial measures that have that effect. And the proof of the pudding that there really isn't a problem here that these agreements are needed to address is the fact that when you look at the disputes that have arisen under the Agreement on Internal Trade, there have been, in the 50 years that that agreement has been in place, about 15 disputes actually dealing with interprovincial trade matters. They're all about agricultural commodities and arise because of supply management protections that are in place at the provincial level to protect dairy farmers or to protect fish processing plants. For example, of the 15 disputes, there are 5 dealing with snow crabs off the, as a consequence of the marketing regimes off the East Coast. So there really aren't problems here that these agreements are needed to deal with. So what are they about? They're fundamentally about deregulation and privatization. These are precisely the policies that have been ruinous for the global economy. They've been extremely problematic in terms of undermining the capacity of governments to deal with problems like climate change as well. And yet, no one seems to have told the trade officials involved in these projects that we're about to turn the corner, I think, in terms of this enthusiasm for policies that reduce the capacity of the state to deal with the economy, to deal with social and environmental problems as well. The last thing I want to say is that if you're curious about how this all plays out, what they are building into this framework of domestic law is an enforcement mechanism that can be invoked by private parties, private companies, to challenge things that governments do that interfere with their profits or ability to conduct their business enterprise free from government control and regulation. There are 3 cases now that are proceeding under Chapter 11 of NAFTA, which is the prototype for the dispute mechanism that's now built into the bilateral agreement between Alberta and British Columbia, that Canadians should be aware of. One is by Dow Chemical, seeking damages against Canada because Quebec is regulating pesticides in a way Dow Chemical doesn't think will be wonderful for its business. There's a claim by a company called Centurion Health. It's a U.S. company. It's seeking $160 million in damages against Canada because it wasn't able to establish a chain of for-profit healthcare clinics in the country. There's a threatened claim by Abitibi Bowater against Canada because Newfoundland had the temerity to recover the water and timber licenses that were issued to the company to operate a mill that the company's now decided to close. The company wanted to sell those licenses, and the province has asserted its ownership of those resources in recovering them. Those are the kind of claims that will now be authorized as a feature of interprovincial agreements if the Premier's initiatives, if the Trade Minister's initiatives succeed. What my report describes are the broad public policy implications of this agenda, and the fact that there has been no effort to allow timely disclosure of these agreements in order to facilitate an informed and public debate about their consequences, which would be the prudent course in our view. Thank you.